I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're talking to a terrific author. His name is Kevin Steele, and he's written a wonderful book. It's called Heartbreak and Hot Pot, a memoir. Kevin shares his deeply personal and vulnerable journey through a series of life-altering events, from the death of a loved one to the impact of COVID on his small business. Join us right now as we explore his resilience, hope, and the surprising dietary trick that transformed his life. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Kevin, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine. Great to have you on the show. What inspired you to write Heartbreak and Hot Pot and share the details of your life?
I've always wanted to be an author, and it was unfortunate that the set of circumstances that occurred gave me the content to create this novel. It was something that I've always been very open. I've always shared, probably overshared too much about my own life, my own personal thoughts, and I wanted to put that out there into a book. And once I started writing it, it just kept coming, and it was very cathartic writing this book.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about the traumatic events that started in 2015 and how they shaped your journey.
My Yeah, I guess I had what you would call a normal life, everything, wife, two kids, and good job. Everything was kind of moving along as you would expect. And in November 2015, I lost my oldest son,
Mm.
Dan, in a tragic accident. He fell from a building,
God.
and he was 22 years old. He was just really getting going,
Yeah.
and that pretty much set off the rest of the course of my life. From that point forward, things changed, and I ended up getting a divorce and living on my own down in San Diego, and so yeah, it kind of
Yeah.
set the path for all the events that transpired.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a difficult time. Um, how did you find the strength to pull through that?
You just have to keep moving forward. That's
Mm.
what I've found is as difficult as it is. You just have to keep moving forward. I mean, I've had the benefits of a lot of therapy, and I've,
Yeah.
I've got some good friends, and people are important. People are important in keeping you moving forward, and that's
Yeah.
really been the key for me.
Yeah. And then came COVID a handful of years later. What
Yeah.
was the impact of that pandemic on your business and on your life?
I had moved to Minneapolis and had bought 7 hair salons, and it was the best job I'd ever had in my life. I had about 50 employees at the peak, and was really enjoying the day-to-day activity. It was 7 days a week, 24 hours a day type thing.
Mhm.
But COVID came along, and like with many businesses, it just ripped through us. We couldn't hire, was the essential problem. And so I went from 7 salons down to 4 salons, then into bankruptcy, and it's a long that's kind of a long story in itself,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's very fascinating. I intend to write another book about it, about my
Yeah.
life in that segment of the business world.
Yeah. But so significant. I mean, hair salons were devastated. Nobody got their hair done during that time. We were all walking around with like 1970s hair, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It was crazy, crazy.
Yeah, it was almost impossible to anticipate what the demand was going to be, but again, our biggest problem was hiring stylists, was hiring people, which is what you see in restaurants, you see everywhere today.
Right.
It's difficult to staff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, nobody wants to work today. That's also part of it. That was a unintended consequence of COVID, that people
exactly.
would stop working for a number of months and then I don't ever want to work again,
Yeah,
particularly hands-on or in an office or in a salon. I know it's amazing how quickly we got out of the habit of working after, a whole lifetime history of doing it.
Yeah,
Tell
I
us a
kind of
little bit
understand the
about,
salon bit though, because it's such an intimate, it's such an
yeah.
intimate setting. But yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no, no, you're right. And that was one of the last places I went back to after the pandemic was the salon because I was scared.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, we didn't know. We didn't want to get this disease. What was the dietary trick you discovered, and how did it contribute to your transformation?
Yeah, I put that in the book kind of as a little it originally was intended as an aside to try and lighten the mood a bit,
Yeah.
because the whole concept is that I have all this heartbreak that occurs through all these several years, but in the process, I had gone to China on business for 10 days and had discovered Chinese hot pot, uh,
Hmm.
for myself, obviously. And it's just an amazing, very clean way to eat.
Yeah.
And basically it's boiling broth that has whatever spice flavor that you would want to put into it, whether it's
Hmm.
super spicy hot or pickled or whatever. And you just drop in various ingredients, vegetables, shaved beef, whatever, and pull it out with your chopsticks and eat it right away. And it's such a very clean, almost keto way to eat. And
Yeah.
so for some reason, you know, after my life had changed irrevocably in another way when I was living on my own, I started off on Chinese hot pot, and I'd always been a little bit I, overweight, just on the heavy side, and
Right.
and just eating this. I did this almost exclusively for like over 6 months, and I
Mhm.
dropped 45 pounds or so.
Wow.
And it just felt great.
Yeah.
It's a very it's an interesting diet
Yeah.
trick.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely. You're like our own Jared from Subway.
exactly, yeah, for the entire Chinese people. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, but it is amazing. If you stick to lean proteins and vegetables, you will lose weight. It's
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's mind-boggling. Never thought of hot pot that way. I'll have to rethink it and incorporate it into my diet as well. What do you hope readers take away from the book?
I think the biggest message that I'm trying to deliver is that other people go through challenges just like you are going through challenges. We all go through immense challenges. I had a series of years there, which I mean it's kind of still going on, but it just seemed like one challenge after another, and you can persevere, you can continue, and you can keep your head up. And life's not always easy. I
Yeah,
bring up something in the book quite a bit that I have this belief that the universe gives back, and I try to give love, and I try to give kindness to the world. And for a long time I felt like the universe was giving back. I really did have kind of a blessed life.
yeah,
I lived in Newport Beach, California. I had a great job. I had wonderful kids, wonderful wife,
yeah,
and everything turned on a dime. But
right.
the universe will give back. I think that's kind of what I'm aiming for, and the message I'm trying to deliver.
Exactly. One of my buddies who's a doctor says that all the time. Life turns on a dime. And unfortunately, it's true. The positive part of that is it can turn for the better on a dime also.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what was it like writing this book and going through the pain and the heartache and putting it on paper and all of that?
I think I mentioned earlier is a bit cathartic. I once I started, it just started flowing. It really it wasn't like a struggle. I actually normally when I do a project like this or something, I would do a very specific outline and flesh it out. And this just came out of me. And there was a lot of editing and a lot of editing, a lot of editing
Yeah,
afterwards, but the initial writing was amazing. I really enjoyed it, and I hope people get something out of it. They read it. Most of the folks that have read it so far have really come back and given very positive feedback, and felt that it really gave them some insight into another person's life, which is I think important.
Absolutely. And the ability to overcome, the worst days of our lives.
Yeah.
I think that's an important message as well. Do you have the writing bug now? Are you going to write anything else?
I'm working on um so we talked about my business. I
Yeah.
was in a franchise, and it was a horrible experience. And so I am writing a book now about my life in a franchise. It's kind of a cautionary business tale. It's probably going to have quite a bit more of the personal in it as opposed
Right.
to a cold business book, but it's already fleshing out kind of that way. And I'm enjoying writing this as much as I enjoyed writing my first book.
Sounds great. I think the people will learn that the structure of a franchise business model is so restrictive
It's
that it's unbearable for anyone who has a flair of entrepreneur within them.
Well, yeah, my problem was specifically I was held to a financial requirement when I for locations that were producing zero revenue. So I had 7 locations I was paying for, and I had 4 that were working. So I was paying over $120,000 a year for non-producing locations, and
Right.
it doesn't work as a viable business
Right.
model.
Right.
It
Exactly.
just
Exactly. Amazing, amazing stories coming forward in that book. We're looking forward to it. This book is called Heartbreak and Hot Pot, a memoir. It is a deeply personal story, and it tells of Kevin's vulnerable journey through a series of life-altering events, from the death of his beloved son to the impact of COVID on his small business. It is a story of resilience and hope, as well as the dietary trick that we talked about earlier today that'll get you fit like Kevin. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. I appreciate it. Thank you so
I
much for your
appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.